Hello, everyone. Thank you all for coming. My name is Lauricella. I am the peer venture coach for Forge, campus leader for Apple, and the co-founder of Lucid Leaf, alongside my partner, Mr. Nick Seal. Today, I'm going to be presenting on building a brand and share a little bit about our story building Lucid Leaf. So the first part of the presentation is going to focus on a brand. So we're going to begin with an overview of what a brand is, then dive into a product versus the brand. They are inextricably linked, yet they are not the same, of course. Then we'll talk about how brands shape our identity and ultimately why we buy from brands. And then to wrap that section up, we'll finish off with strategies for social media. And then for the second part of the presentation, which I hope is more engaging and interesting, that's going to be all about Lucid Leaf. So I'm going to talk about why we started Lucid Leaf, then dive into our product, our brand, and then wrap up with our overview of our journey from then to now to the future. And then at the very end, if you didn't get a chance to try, we will be sampling out our blueberry lemonade flavors. So excited for you all to get a chance to try. So the first question I'm going to pose is, to answer what is a brand, is which of these best describes the Nike brand? So please participate, raise your hand, or else it's going to make it a little bit awkward. But who here thinks that the Nike logo best describes the Nike brand? Logo, awesome. Now we have stock, Nike stock. LeBron James, other Nike athletes, awesome, can't miss him. Nike ad campaigns with this guy right here, or any other Nike campaign. Nike shoes, or Nike products in general. And then the last option is a myth. So go figure, it's a bit of a trick question. The answer, in all reality, is all of them, yet none of them. But the correct answer is a myth. So when we think of a myth, we think of something that is not real, something that does not actually exist. And if I were to tell you that the Nike brand is not real, of course I would be lying to you. What I mean by this is that brands are an imagined reality. They're what historians would call a legal fiction or a figment of our imagination. So to illustrate this point, imagine that I gave everyone on Earth a pill that made them forget what a tree was. So if we all forgot what a tree was, we might not have a word to describe a tree, but trees still exist. However, if I gave everyone a pill that made them forget what the Nike brand is, Nike would no longer exist. So this is to say that Nike only exists so long as we, the customers, continue believing that it exists. So to define the brand, the definition that I believe in is a brand is a figment of customers' collective imagination, all of the thoughts, feelings, and mental associations that come to mind when you think of a product or service sold by a particular company. So this may include, but is not limited to, logo, quality of the product, reliability, cost, company size, marketing campaigns, customer service, and the customer base itself. So now we're going to talk about the power of a brand versus the power of product. So starting off with product, in general, an exceptional product is more important than an exceptional brand, and that is because an exceptional brand cannot save a poor product. So a good example of this is imagine a musician that is really good at performing, they're really good on TikTok and whatnot, but they have terrible music. They're really not likely to have long-term success, and that goes the same for brands as well. However, a strong product is replicable, and this is not necessarily a bad thing. For example, we saw Celsius, which many of you drink. We got one right there. They came into the market. They killed it with really the first mainstream healthy energy drink. And after their success, many new brands came in and had different brands, different marketing, and were able to carve out their own customer segments. So Alani Nu is really the same product as Celsius, but they have different branding. It's much more catered and marketed towards women, and that's the reason that there is room for both of them. It's also important to remember that the best product does not always win. So take, for example, Peet's versus Starbucks. If you were to define the product as the coffee itself, Peet's has much better coffee. However, Starbucks has a lot more brand power, and they are ubiquitous. They're convenient. You can find them anywhere. They have the apps, the rewards, the drive-thrus. And for that reason, Starbucks does better. And if you were paying attention to the first point, you might think that this is a little contradictory, But the important thing to note is that Starbucks still has a very good product. It might not have the best product, but if they were to do exactly what they do and sell Folgers coffee, it would not work. So the main takeaway is that you do need a very good product. You just don't need the best product. Now, going into brands, what a strong brand does is it allows you to better connect with your customers. I see it as a competitive advantage that builds loyalty. So, for example, who here shops at Trader Joe's? We gotta love them. However, they have a lot of great products we love. They don't really do anything new. They take a lot of products that already currently exist, repackage them, and they have the nice fonts. They're very vibrant. They got the catchy slogans. And because of that, they build incredible brand loyalty. So what brands do is they allow you to carve out a niche and loyal audience in the broader market. And this is great because it makes room for new players and competition. How many of you have heard of Goodles? I love them. You have to try them. They're great. So Kraft Mac and Cheese, they're the biggest player in the market. Where Goodles made a name for itself is being one of the first mainstream plant-based, healthy, fiber, high-protein macaronis. And you'll see brands like Kraft, they come in and do their own thing. But if you had to choose between these two products and you were health conscious, which one are you likely to choose? And you don't even need to answer that. I think it's pretty obvious. This is just to say that when you have a unique brand, you can carve out a small niche audience of the broader market. Another example of this is these cups, Ramblers, whatever you'd like to call them. Hydro Flask, Stanley, and Yeti, they're all essentially the same. They really don't do anything different. The main difference and the reason they're all able to exist is they have different brands and they market to different types of customers. So, how brands shape our identity. Who here has watched the movie Fight Club? Great movie. If you haven't, it's not PG, but you have to watch it. Highly recommend. But there's a famous quote that I really like from Tyler Durden, a.k.a. Brad Pitt, that says, "The things you own end up owning you. You're not how much money you have in the bank, you're not the car you drive, and you're not your khakis." And I believe in this fully. I don't think we should be defined by what we buy, how much money we have, the clothes on our body, or the food that we eat. However, in a world of people looking to find and express their identity, especially young people, the brands you consume can be seen as a vote for your consumer identity. So they go along with the values you want to embody and the way you wish to be perceived by others. So, for example, here on the left, we have two jackets. We have a Patagonia jacket and a Costco jacket. They're essentially the same. Maybe Patagonia has a slightly higher quality, but not much. The reason people are going to buy Patagonia opposed to Costco is that when you buy Patagonia, it is signaling to the world that you care about sustainability, maybe you're more outdoorsy and adventurous, and people, especially young people, just think of it as being more cool. In terms of the drink market, I couldn't miss this. We have Guayaka Yerba Mate and Yakak Yerba Mate plant-based energy tea. They taste essentially the same amount of sugar. Guayaki has far more brand power, and the reason for that is look how much cooler that can is. If you had to be seen with one can, would you want to be seen with this that can look special or this that looks very, very generic? And if you don't quite buy into the sentiment that you buy brands to kind of form your consumer identity, I think it's important to recognize that brands allow us to feel like we're part of something bigger than ourselves, which is a fundamental human desire in many ways. And it's really easy to feel like you want to be a part of Patagonia. You want to be a part of Guayaki Yerba Mate and what they represent. Not many people want to be a part of Costco or this generic plant-based energy tea. So, social media strategies. There are obviously countless social media strategies. I chose to focus in on 4 today that I find particularly interesting. The first being computer-generated. An example of this is Space Tea. Then we have Audience First with Earth Cups, Founder First and Behind the Scenes with Midday Squares, and then multiple accounts with Red Bull. So, computer-generated Space Tea. So, Space Tea makes a mushroom lemonade. It's a good product, not great. I am a very big fan of the brand, though. And you'll see on their Instagram page, they do a great job with the graphics. They all pop. It's very vibrant. They have a lot of cool videos where the can is twirling around, going up into space, going through the rainforest, things like that. This is a really good way to build your brand, especially when you're an emerging brand, because it's very easy, and it's only going to get easier, especially with AI. The counterpoint to that, of course, is that if you can do it, anyone else can do it too. Not to say it's a bad option, just something to consider. Audience first, Earth Cups. So Earth Cups is a company that makes a sustainable red Solo cup. It's not red, it's translucent. But yeah, what they choose to do for their strategy is highlight their customer base, which is primarily college students. So if you look at their page right here, it almost looks like someone's personal Instagram account. And I think this is really great because it makes it a lot more relatable, as well as the fact that the customers love being showcased on the Instagram page. Next, we have Midday Squares. I love this brand. They're great. They make a healthy, functional chocolate bar. They're actually a Canadian company that was founded by a wife and husband pair, as well as the brother-in-law. And the brother-in-law is almost like an entrepreneur influencer, and he basically said, CPG brands, food brands are boring. I'm only joining this company if we can do the marketing like a reality TV show. So basically what they do is they show a lot of behind the scenes, the highs, the lows, the struggles, the successes, and they give you an inside look at their personality. So you begin to feel like these people are your friends, and they don't know you, they never will, but you feel like you know them, and for that reason, you want to continue buying from them. Red Bull. Red Bull, we know and love it. They are huge, huge marketing budget. Very few companies can do what they do. But the point I want to touch on is look at the amount of Instagram accounts they have. And this right here is not even half of them. They have different ones for music, for soccer, for dance, surfing, skating, pretty much everything you can think of, as well as they'll have ones for specific countries. And where I think this is really interesting is it allows you to target many different customer segments while still uniting them under the same brand. And brands are starting to do this, especially on platforms like TikTok, because of the way the algorithm works. So, for example, if you put many different types of content on the same TikTok page, ultimately it's going to hurt your algorithm because people that like some of the videos might not like the others. So it makes a lot more sense to start multiple TikTok accounts and have one clear type of video for each account. So just an interesting thing to consider. Okay, is there any questions on that segment of the presentation? Ethan?
I have one.
Yes.
Red Bull account, how do they get, how do they have such a large marketing budget? Because, I buy Red Bull maybe every now and then, but I'm not,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a good example. I wish I knew exactly how they raised so much capital because I would love to have that much capital. However, they've been around for a while. I'm assuming they had some very wealthy investors way back when. Ben?
I just had a thought.
Yeah.
Take a guess as to what their cost per unit is. Like how much it costs them to make one can.
probably like 25 cents, 20 cents.
I'd say maybe a fourth of that. I'd say we're talking like between 5 and 10 cents probably. They sell them at the Arizona market. The 12-ounce cans are $4.09. The 16-ounce cans are $5.09. So to answer your question in one word, I would say margins. Their margins are gross. That's why they put a lot of those margins into advertising and marketing to keep it going.
Yeah, it's Julie.
I would also say they're like alcohol market, maybe, because they're in bars.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was younger in bars, they were always doing the shots with the Red Bull. I don't know if you all still do that.
No, absolutely. And that's a really interesting point, too, because they do not have an account that says Red Bull alcohol, Red Bull bars. But that is a huge segment of their population. And the things that they're showcasing these people doing, whether it be surfing or jumping out of planes, things like that, rock climbing, they're things that very few people do, but it evokes an emotion in you. You want to live up to that. The other thing going along with what Ben was saying is that Red Bull is one of the few brands that's been able to maintain their pricing. So a lot of drink brands, especially as they grow, they start to do more and more promos. They try to compete on price, and they cut it. Red Bull is always expensive. Even at Walmart, nowhere you go can you find an amazing deal on Red Bull, and very few brands do that. And like Ben said, all those profits keep coming in with their margins. They just pay it forward on the marketing budget. Any more questions on that part of the presentation? Yes, Niraj.
I actually don't have a question on this.
Okay.
Earlier you said that that Celsius, goes into the like healthy energy
Mhm.
and yours is too. So how is yours better, or are they all marketing?
Yes. The first thing that comes to mind is if you know anything about sucralose, you know it is absolutely terrible for your gut. It might not seem that bad right now. It's 0 calories. But I promise you, if you drink sucralose every day for the rest of your life, you will pay the consequences one day. And it's very hard, in all honesty, compete with sucralose on taste. Ghost, another energy drink brand that I love, they have everything from like a Swedish fish flavor to all these different types of candy, cotton candy. They taste great, but you are paying the price in the artificial sweeteners. So our goal at Lucid Leaf has always been to be the best tasting natural drink on the market. And if you're someone that likes artificially flavored Swedish fish, there's really not much we can do about that. We're not trying to win you over. But yes, that's the main thing. Whereas Lucid Leaf, not only do we not have artificial sweeteners, monk fruit, guayusa, they're packed with prebiotics. Prebiotics help feed your gut, and they're very beneficial for gut health. So that's another area we distinguish ourselves. Cool. So from the rest of this point forward, we will be focusing on Lucid Leaf. So why did we start Lucid Leaf? It seems like a million drink brands are popping up. Everyone and their mother is starting one. So why did we continue to persist nonetheless? The reason for that is that when I was a sophomore, I was working for Coca-Cola. That was around the time that I met my co-founder. And we get together, we talk about these drink brands. And even though there was many great options, there was never one that fully satisfied all of our different needs. We wanted to create something that fulfilled our need for delicious flavor, natural ingredients, and a functional benefit. And the natural drink space was filled with supplement in a can type of drinks or plant-based energy drinks. Everyone was basically continuing to copy each other, kind of like Celsius. And we wanted to create something that was fundamentally new. So very few drink brands build their product from scratch. A lot of them just go to co-packers and basically take a white label product and put their own branding on something that already exists. We created our product by sitting in our apartment, mixing together ingredients, and iterating so many times until we got to something we were satisfied with. We also wanted to create something that was a healthy brand that was also fun. So if you think of a lot of healthy, natural, organic brands, a lot of their marketing and brand identity is based simply on the fact that they're healthy and organic. We think that healthy people also enjoy fun brands, and so we wanted to have something that promoted health but was not defined by it. And you'll see that with a lot of what we've done. Everything from our ads to our can, it all pops in a way that is very unlike other healthy brands. So our product, it is 100% natural, as I mentioned. It only has 80 milligrams of caffeine, so if you're a caffeine-sensitive consumer, you can still drink it. If you love caffeine, you can drink 2 or 3 a day. You can't really do that with Celsius, and if you're drinking 2 or 3 Celsius a day, you have a serious issue. That is terrible, and I wish you the best. And we've always prioritized our flavor. We believe functional ingredients, all that stuff is great, but at the end of the day, people want something that tastes well. So we've aimed to be a drink that provides the flavor of juice, the mouthfeel of soda, and the benefits of tea. A little bit about our ingredients. We use monk fruit juice concentrate. It is very smooth, tastes a lot better than monk fruit extract, and has a very nice, unique aftertaste. Guayusa, this is a very important part of our drink. Guayusa is the cousin plant to yerba mate. It's a little bit less bitter, more smooth. It's been used for thousands of years by indigenous communities in the Amazon rainforest to promote physical, mental, spiritual health. They actually do really cool things. So every morning they have these ceremonies where they get together, they drink guayusa, and they interpret their dreams. So I found that quite interesting. And it's also very environmentally friendly. So guayusa is cultivated in what's called chakra agroforestry plots. So they're basically a collective of home garden plots where the farmers will farm cacao beans, guayusa, and they really prefer guayusa because guayusa is the most profitable. It's also the easiest and best for labor to produce. So yeah, there's a really good thing going there. It's all shade grown, so it regenerates the Amazon rainforest. They're not tearing down parts of the rainforest just to grow things. So yeah, that is great. And in terms of our flavor, we have the blueberry lemonade. That's the first one we launched. That's the one you're all trying today. Mango Mint, I cannot wait for it to be here. That is my favorite. I think that is the one where we really did something new and special. And then shortly after that, we'll have Galactic Grape. From there, we may choose to launch our apple flavor. We're working on a cherry limeade. People have been very interested in that, so maybe that will come a little bit earlier. But yeah, that is our current flavor set. In terms of our brand, we wanted to create a brand that was founded on promoting a mission, not just targeting a market. So you'll see in a lot of what we do with our marketing that we aim to promote living life to the fullest. So collecting experiences, making memories, exploring, and enjoying the small things. There's a lot of drink brands out there that are focused on helping you achieve your goals, crushing the workout. All those things are great, but we think there's something to be said about what is the drink you want to have when you're hanging out with friends, playing the guitar, reading a book, going on a hike. And that's really where we feel that our brand and our product fits into the market. We believe that your hobbies and your interests play a big role in what makes you you, not just your successes. And the other important point to acknowledge is that since we are a new brand, we do not fully know who our audience is yet. We don't know whether or not it's male, female. We have an idea of the age range. We don't know for certain. We don't fully know the activities they like to engage in. And so for that reason, we are founding it on a set of values while still keeping it open until we get a better idea of who our audience is. And as we do that, we'll be creating new strategies to target those audiences. Another point, just to reiterate, is that natural brands are often boring. We've tried to do everything possible in our power to be the exact opposite of that. That's why you see a little alien with a beanie and whatnot on our cans. We aim to be fun with an emphasis on outdoors, exploration, adventure, community, and friends. And again, we are promoting a lifestyle, not just a product. Next slide. So this is a little overview of where we started to where we are now. So for anyone that doesn't know, Lucid Leaf was not always Lucid Leaf. It actually used to be NFT for non-fungible tea way back in the day during the NFT boom. And thank goodness we are not going with that anymore. It would have been a terrible idea. But that is just to say that you might have a brand or product right now that you don't have a lot of confidence in. You think it sucks. It might not suck. It might suck. Regardless, you really could be tapping into something, so just stay with it. And it all began by mixing ingredients in my apartment. So we literally went down to Scented Leaf, took the top few flavors, got the loose leaf mix, and just dissected it all, and then started experimenting with ingredients, whether that was plant extract, fruit juices, different types of sweetener. It was a long, long process. There was one that we used to use called erythritol, which is in a lot of drinks. I consumed a terrible, unhealthy amount of that. My stomach wanted to explode, but that's sometimes what it takes. So I've probably had gallons upon gallons of our drink. We were originally producing with a homebrew canning machine that looks just like this. And as soon as we got together our cans, we canned these up. We didn't know a thing about food science. We didn't pasteurize our drink. And within days, we had this terrible sludge in it. Disgusting. So we came a long way from then. We ended up collaborating with U of A food scientists, did microbiological tests, did shelf life tests. And from there, we started producing at Cook Tucson. That's me brewing in the pot right there. We did that for about 2 batches and then realized there was just literally no way we'd be able to scale it. So we stopped that. We started exploring co-packers, some on the East Coast, some down in LA. They all either cost way too much or just wouldn't take us seriously. So ultimately, we stumbled upon the sweet spot, which was Thunder Canyon Brewery, soon to be Brickbox Brewery. They're changing ownership and reopening very soon, so check them out. They're awesome. And yeah, you'll see up in the right-hand corner, that's just an image of me when I worked at Coca-Cola. These are our original cans. So these were the 12-ounce skinny ones with the sticker labels. Now we have those beautiful 16-ounce shrink-wrap cans that Emily's holding right there. They look a lot better. So yeah, we came a long way from that. These are some more images. Those were our original 3 flavors: Guayusa grape, which is now Galactic grape; Amazon apple, which we'll probably now do as like an apple fritter; and then Mango mint. That has stayed the same. It's the best drink ever. More of our skinny labels. That's me with the president of, or actually CEO of Shamrock Farms. We did a little drink swap, kind of like how NBA players do jersey swaps. That's me sitting in a tree and in a river for an ad. I came to find out afterwards it was very dirty water, but anything for the ad. Me with Robbins, sporting a little Amazon Apple Lucid Leaf. And then this is us working with the food scientists at the U of A, and then an example of a co-packing plant that we visited. Now, where we are now, this is our first production run. This is a brief little video we have that, just shows you a little bit about what the canning process looks like. See Mr. Sargent and Gracie in there. Shout out to them. I love looking at the cans at the bottom slowly disappear. That was a great feeling. It was a very special feeling to watch those cans come out of the plant. So that is that. In terms of where we are going now, so from now to the future, our number one goal right now is getting into retailers. So we're approaching natural grocers, small natural chains. We're trying to get into Erewhon as soon as possible. That will probably be over summer. We're also aiming to get into all the U of A, Highland Market, Arizona Market, etc. And then we will also be selling online. We'll be testing out new flavors, being open to product feedback, see what our customers want. And then eventually raising capital and scaling, because we truly believe we have something great and we want to grow it and we want to make money. So, yeah. This is a little ad that kind of just describes what Lucid Leaf is and also really embodies what we're trying to create with our brand.
There are many things we seem to have come to simply accept about the way we caffeinate. Artificial sweeteners, excessive carbonation, and crashes that deplete our true energy. We've sacrificed our health for the sake of convenience. But it doesn't have to be that way. We created Lucid Leaf as a healthier, natural, and better tasting alternative to energy drinks. One that fueled our ambitions rather than harmed them. Each flavor is brewed with natural ingredients and guayusa, a powerful plant from the Amazon rainforest packed with prebiotics, antioxidants, and caffeine. Guayusa has been used for thousands of years to support physical, mental, and spiritual health. The leaves are known for their calming and energizing effects, allowing you to seize the day while maintaining a state of mental tranquility. We can put an end to energy drinks. Nutrient plants, not poison.
Okay, that is pretty much it. QR code, if you guys would not mind scanning this, filling out the quick survey, that would be greatly appreciated. And then we have some slides at the end with further QR codes for student made. And yeah, do we have any questions on anything about the presentation, Lucid Leaf, etc.? Jackson.
Where do you store your product? I mean, it's like a lot.
That's a great question. Currently, we're partnering with BrickBox, so it's all stored in the walk-in fridge at BrickBox. Daniel.
What was your biggest challenge in all this?
That's a great question. There's so many different challenges. Getting product to a point where it was not just idea, but is actually commercialized and ready to be sold, by far the biggest challenge. As I mentioned, we got all excited when we got our cans and could can it up. We thought we're ready to sell. Then we realized, no, this is going to spoil. This is terrible. That was a lot. Working out things with labels. We've had to iterate our labels and change them many different times. So that by far has been the most challenging part so far. But now the biggest challenge is getting into retailers. So I would say that it really seems like the challenges just keep escalating from smaller to bigger and bigger challenges. But that's the nature of business, nature of entrepreneurship.
How did you manage to learn all the new things, because you are entering into the food, somewhat food
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And I'm someone that is a lifelong student. I'm continuing to learn every single day. A lot of the brands that I worked for before were a big help. So working for Coca-Cola, that allowed me to see the ins and out of the drink industry. I did some brief work for General Mills, and then now I'll be working with Hershey. There's a ton of things I'm going to learn there. That's part of the reason that I'm going to work for Hershey is I realized those are the skills I need. Being an account executive, learning what it's like to just sell to different stores, manage different accounts, and one day we will have our own employees. We want to make sure that we've put ourselves in their shoes and know all the things we need to know to transfer those skills down. And a lot of it, too, just to mention, is continuing to consult with people that know a lot more than we do. So the connections I've made through Coca-Cola, I have great relationships with them. They've been in the industry for 20-plus years, and they've served as excellent advisors.
And how did you manage to collaborate with the students here? Why would they even collaborate with you when you're just new in the business?
Yeah, it's a great question. We've been very, very fortunate to have help from different professors. Simon Hinchliff over at the School of Art and Design, he helped us design those beautiful labels. The food scientists at Chance and the Nutritional School of Wellness, they've been a big help. In terms of students, we've had many different friends and whatnot that have tried our product, given us feedback. Last year, we were going outside of Eller, just setting up little lemonade stands, sampling out our drinks, seeing what people thought. I didn't include any of those videos, but they are quite interesting. We might put them up on the YouTube one day. But yeah, we found that people are interested in what we're doing, and people love trying new things. So yeah, it's a mixture of just being very grateful for that and trying to build up excitement. Jackson.
You mentioned it like a little bit just now. What was, I guess, like the testing, like validation process? Like what did that look like for you?
Yeah, so one of the things we always tried to do was sample our drink against other drinks. So when we went and we were sampling outside of Eller, we did our Mind Glow Mint with Yerba Mate's Enlightenment. And we knew that there's literally a cult following around Enlightenment. So if we can create something that's better than Enlightenment, we're on to something. So that was something that was very important too, because like I said, not everyone is a fan of natural products. If you like energy drinks with Swedish fish, sucralose, all of that, it's going to be hard to turn you into the type of customer that likes something that's more natural and earthy. So kind of having a control group has been very important.
In one of the initial slides, your primary motivation was that you didn't find any perfect drink. First of all, like in your mind, what do you perceive as a perfect drink? And because you say there are so many players in this market, I think that it comes down to a brand and marketing play and then a product play. So at what different stages you look to leverage these?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, product has always been the most important. Before we even started thinking about the brand, we had to dial in the product. In terms of what creates the perfect product, that was something that was natural, healthy, delivered a functional benefit, and also we could drink as a lifestyle beverage throughout the day. So I still drink energy drinks, admittedly, now and then, but that's not the drink that you can drink 3-4 times a day, right? For example, Diet Coke is a great lifestyle beverage. It's not healthy, but you can drink it 3-4 times a day and incorporate it into all of your different meals. We want it to be the kind of natural alternative to that. In terms of the perfect flavor, that's where we wanted to have the flavor of juice, mouthfeel of soda, and the health benefits of tea. Paul.
How did you go about setting up the partnership with the food science folks? Like, did you just go ask the faculty number, or like how did that happen?
Yes, literally. We got so lucky, and we're very grateful for all the professors that have helped us. But it was basically just going onto the U of A website, looking at all the different professors that were in the school, and emailing every single one of them. We got quite lucky with the food science lab because it was actually like an administrative assistant that actually replied to our email and forwarded over to them. It was the same thing at the art school where we reached out to everyone and just were receptive to whoever would respond to us. So, yeah, we were very, very grateful for that. Rowan. Oh, it's a great point. We don't. So to this point, we are an entirely bootstrapped business. My partner Nick and I have put all of our own money into it. That facility you saw with the big canning line, that's not ours. That is Thunder Canyon, soon to be Brick Box's brewery. Very few drink brands actually own their own manufacturing. Co-packing plants, that is what 95% of drink brands do. Celsius, that's what they do. They have an agreement with Pepsi, actually. So it does depend. There are a few exceptions. Guayaki Yerba Mate, they actually do their own production. Coca-Cola, of course. But 90% of drink brands outsource it to a co-packing plant.
And then how do you decide the revenue sharing?
What was that?
How do you decide the revenue sharing between the manufacturers and your company?
Sorry, the what between us and the manufacturers?
Yeah, the revenue sharing.
Revenue share. Oh, so there's many different types of ways to do co-packing agreements, but the most common one is you're not giving them a revenue share. You're simply paying up front the cost. So we paid a set amount to Thunder Canyon. They produce our drinks, and the profits are all ours. The losses are all ours. So, yeah.
My question was, how do you went about researching about the ingredients, and did you actually spoke with doctors or materials that you actually see
Yeah.
ingredients people for like all ages?
Yeah, it's a great question. We spent a lot of time researching ingredients. The first step always was to try out a lot of things and simply see what we even liked the flavor of, because if we didn't like the flavor, there's really no sense investigating further. But I've spent tens, maybe hundreds of hours searching through things on guayusa, especially because guayusa is a very niche and new ingredient. Not many drink brands use it. It is getting more popular. Monk fruit, it had its boom maybe starting like 5 or so years ago. But most drink brands that use monk fruit, they use monk fruit extract. There's actually very few that use monk fruit juice concentrate. So it was a mix of doing our own research as well as we requested additional materials from our suppliers. Monk fruit, they had incredible resources on that. Guayusa, we had to do a little bit more research on ourselves. But yeah, and for example, I was talking about how our product's spoiled and we had that nasty sludge in it at first. That was before we pasteurized, but that was also when we were using guayusa tea leaves, which had a much higher plate count than the guayusa extract. So when we switched over to guayusa extract, that made it a lot more shelf-stable. And then when we worked with the food science lab, that's where we did the microbiological tests. We did pH acidity tests to make sure we were at the right, correct range. So yeah, it was a mix of doing our own research and consulting others. Hannah.
So I know you said that you put a lot of your own money into
Mhm.
this. Do you plan at all to apply for any sort of funding sources or I don't know, invest in?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Anything in terms of a grant, we would absolutely apply to any grant opportunity there is. There's a company I really like called Pop-Up Grocer. They're based in New York, but they basically have a grocery store that goes around the country, and they highlight really cool, vibrant CPG brands. We 100% fall into the category. They just set up a new fund, actually, where that's exactly what they do, because it's very hard being bootstrapped. And, that's definitely something that crossed our minds was, how are we even going to get this off the ground without capital? But the reality is, it's very, very challenging, especially in this industry, to get investors to take you seriously when you don't have a single sale. So it's just kind of the nature of it is you have to find a way to come up with the money, get some grant, take your savings out. That's why I always feel like I tell my brother this because whenever he gets $50, he's spending $50. But I'm like, you want to save up your money because some opportunity will present itself, and you want to have enough money in the bank to go pursue that fully. But yeah, in transparency, it is something that's hard. We would benefit from a lot more capital. It's the reason we couldn't go to those large co-packing plants, and it's taken a lot longer because of that. The other thing is that if you have $0 in sale or very few sales, you're going to have to give up a ton of equity at the beginning. And we truly believe in what we're doing. We believe in its opportunity, so we don't want to go give away 40% of our equity for money that is going to be pebbles in the long run. Julie.
Well, can you just tell anyone who doesn't know what CPG, what that is?
Yes.
If anyone doesn't know what equity is, can you tell them?
Yes. So CPG stands for Consumer Packaged Goods. So that's basically any item that we use and we're going to have to reuse. And it's not just food and beverage. I'm, of course, interested in food and beverage CPG, but it's also like toothbrushes, deodorant, shampoo. Those are all CPG products. Of course, drinks and chips, etc. And equity is basically ownership in the company. So if we were to go raise money and raise some capital, we'd have to give away equity. We'd have to give away ownership in our company, which long-term would hurt us if we sell off, would hurt us Yeah, and the goal is to retain as much ownership as possible, but you do have to find a healthy balance because this is not a business that we can bootstrap indefinitely. It's impossible to do. We just are not ready to raise capital at this moment.
In terms of intellectual property of the drink, is there ways that you can protect this from people just like Red Bulls coming in and just rebranding what you made as their own healthy version?
Yeah, it's a great question. And the answer is yes and no, and it would also go back to the example I was talking about earlier with Celsius, right? Where nobody is copying Celsius's exact formula. They don't have access to that. It's proprietary and protected. But it's not that difficult to look at their ingredient list, which is public information, and pretty soon develop something that's very, very similar. It's also the reason that Guayaki Yerba Mate, there's a ton of brands that come after that taste very similar to it. That is where the importance of a brand really comes into play, because if you truly create something new, somebody else is going to come to the market and they're going to copy it. You need to have enough brand power to outlast that. So yes and no. We have legally protected some stuff around, like our trademark for our logo. That's protected. There are drink brands. For example, it's worth mentioning Quoka Brew. They were started by some UC Berkeley founders, and they kind of went more for the functional approach, where they developed a proprietary blend of green tea, L-theanine, all these different things. They're doing well. Wish them the best, but they started off as a coffee company, Quoka Brew. Now they're doing energy drinks, and they're discontinued their coffee line, but their company's name is Quoka Brew, and also their core business is selling T-shirts for like sororities and Greek life. So I really don't know what they're doing with their brand at this point. I wish them the best, but I personally don't believe too much in the importance of proprietary blends. I don't. Daniel.
Typically advice for kind of like student-age founders in the B2C industry, just kind of getting started, just kind of hustling their way into just different partnerships, sales, traction. Just what advice do you have just for people getting off the ground and trying to find something to base their business on?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very important to think about what makes you different. And I know this is kind of cliche, but again, especially in an industry like beverage, there's infinite drink brands. If you're approaching large retailers or even small retailers, you really have to have a specific value proposition. It's something to demonstrate why you're different. And I think that's part of building a remarkable brand, is not just something that is great, but something that really does stand out. Everything from the flavor, the way it tastes, to the branding, the marketing. And then the other thing is just not being afraid to go out there, not being afraid to get rejected. We have gotten rejected so many times, whether it be co-packers. As we approach more and more retailers, we are 100% going to get rejected, and it's just the nature of it. You have to have a lot of self-belief and belief in what you've created. Ethan.
I'll just add to what you just
Yeah.
said as well. One thing is like also Lucas really knows his shit. Like, that's one thing that's like, if you have a skill that you're good at something and you really know, you gotta like really, really know it. You can't just say, okay, well I'm gonna go make a co-package drink brand and just put my own label on it. It's really knowing what you're doing and really being knowledgeable to answer these hard questions that can allow you to come up with a new product that can, be innovative and
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Ethan. And I think another point worth mentioning, too, is you can't be afraid to nerd out. So, for example, we had some meetings early on where we were presenting to many different people, and I was nerding out over guayusa, explaining everything from the backstory to the different chemicals that were in it, all these different things. And, we had one person that was like, that doesn't matter, give us the gist. And then the other advisors are like, no, you need to demonstrate that you do nerd out over your subject, that you are passionate about it, because nobody is going to care about your business, your brand, your product as much as you are. And even though they're not going to care as much, you need to show that you truly do care in it and you truly do have belief in it. Ryan.
So going off of that point, if you were to approach a retailer, what's the main reason they would say no to you, and how do you navigate around that?
Yeah. The main reason they'd say no is either, number one, we're too small of a brand for them. We don't have any proven success. That they're looking, what are your sales numbers? Well, we don't have sales numbers. So that's the biggest thing. And then from there, that's where we truly just have to continue to hammer down why we are different, why we are special. And I think that a lot of that goes into our brand, but also having a product that really doesn't taste like anything people have tried before. And even if everyone doesn't love it, the people that are going to love it are going to really, really love it because it's different.
So, how do you first sell your equity? Like when starting a company,
Mhm.
how do you offer your equity? How do you set up the legal structure to offer your the equity part of the company to potential investors?
Yeah, it's a great point. So to this point, we haven't raised equity, so I'm far from an expert on that. But usually start off with getting angel investors, so people that really believe in what you're doing, they believe in the product, or they believe in you. And usually those angel investors really aren't trying to make money. They're going to give you 20 grand, whatever it may be, and if they lose it all, they don't care. They have tons of money anyways. And a lot of those shares, when you end up raising your first round, a lot of those shares end up getting diluted, and they're almost like temporary shares in a sense. So yeah, but when you raise bigger and bigger rounds, you'll have one investor that leads that round, and then more and more investors will come in. But that's a lot of what we're learning as we go too. Yes, Ryan.
So, Red Bull has all of their different action sports that
Mhm.
draw audiences like surfing and the
Mhm.
skateboarding and snowboarding. Do you have ideas for your brand that can kind of be similar and maybe draw an audience in a different way besides just directly to the drink, but to kind of a culture?
That's a great question. Yes, we absolutely do. That's where we are still keeping some things open-ended, but there are some things that we're willing to take a bet on. For example, we have an ad that I didn't show today. It is on our YouTube if you want to look. But it's basically someone that is dirt bike riding, which was we don't have the marketing budget of Red Bull to go jump out of planes and whatnot, but we can create a video of someone doing some cool dirt bike tricks. So dirt biking, hiking, rock climbing. Our goal is to really be the kind of adventurous outdoor activities, athletics, high adrenaline stuff.
Have you given a thought to the pricing of your product because it's so many competitors, it even becomes a pricing game. When exactly do you price it, and how do you compete on pricing as well compared to brand and product? So have you thought about that?
Yeah, we've absolutely thought about that, especially in the past few weeks. That is where my co-founder and I have been putting all of our time into. Transparently, we're not trying to compete on price. If you are looking for best bang for your buck, caffeine, whatever it may be, there's Celsius, there's Bang, there's all of those drinks. We are a premium product. It costs a lot more to make it. We're small scale, produced in small batches. With that being said, our recommended price to our retailers is currently $3.30, and that's taking a bet that they're going to mark it up even higher from there. So my best guess, if you were to see it in a Natural Grocers or Sprouts, is it would be $3.60 or so, $3.30 to $3.80. Yeah, especially with inflation. And also, too, a lot of it depends on where you're selling at, right? Like if you're selling an Air One, we charge $6 for our drink, and they're going to buy it. Whereas if you're at a convenience store, nobody's going to do that, but that's also why we are not going into convenience, and we're very particular about the retailers that we're targeting early on. Parth.
You have already talked about how, what are the reasons retailers can say no to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the biggest things people in energy drink market or in consumer goods market compete on is the shelf space. What's the attractive shelf space where the eyeballs of people
Yeah.
go the most.
Mm-hmm.
Those spaces might be occupied by the big brands. So my question was, how are you gonna find the right space? And I'm not sure. I came here late, so you might have talked about what kind of retailers you're targeting. But if they are already if that space is already crowded, how are you gonna carve your own space then?
Yeah, it's a great point. That is kind of relates to Daniel's question of what is our biggest challenge. That is our biggest challenge right now, is trying to figure out how we are approaching different things like shelf space, slotting fees. At the end of the day, it comes down to being able to negotiate really well. So some retailers, if you do an exclusive launch, perhaps you can circumvent the slotting fees. In terms of the shelf space, Like Logan Paul, for example, with Prime, he paid $3 million to get on the end corners of Walmart because that's like very prime grocery store real estate. But as a startup brand, you don't have that. And that is one of the biggest challenges is that you can't be front and center. You have to find a way for your product to pop so much and for people to want to try it so bad that even if you're at the lower level and you're not eye level, people are still going to reach out and grab it. Oh, I can't show that. Cheaper than what we sell it for. Cheaper than what we sell it for.
So I believe you pointed out Starbucks back in the presentation. So I just read one article and I figured out that Starbucks is extremely concerned about their location, setting up their shops, and very concerned about their audience. So do you think like the location is still worthy to consider unless you have a strong popular branding and marketing?
Location is very, very important. And it kind of goes back to our point about being selective with the retailers that we start out with. Like even if Walmart was like, we'll pay you $5-10 million to launch in Walmart nationwide, it would be a terrible deal for us because Walmart's customer base and the locations don't align with us, especially in the early stages. So yeah, a lot of it is being selective with making sure it's on brand in terms of being in natural grocery stores, making sure it's in a place where the people buying it have disposable income. You have to be selective.
And one small quick question. Are you planning to introduce your stocks to like the stock portfolio after you reach like a bigger and like a little limit of funds money?
Oh, like list them on a stock exchange?
Yeah, like introducing your stock prices on the stock portfolio exchange or
Oh.
your company maybe in the future.
Yeah, that's a great question. I haven't even thought of it since it's so far out there, but we're not opposed to going public, but to this point, we haven't raised a single cent, so our eyes are far from set on going public. There is so much work to accomplish before we get to that point, but if you see on a stock exchange one day, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. That's the goal. Rowan.
What do you think? Which company is like better or in a safe space, a public company or a private one? Because I think
It's so hard to answer. There's pros and cons to each, right? Like if you're a public company, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, whatever it may be, you're going to have larger market cap. You're going to be bigger. McDonald's. There's also benefits to being private. For example, In-N-Out. In-N-Out's not as big as McDonald's, but they have been able to maintain ownership and imprint their values on the company. People love In-N-Out, and the people that own it are still massively wealthy, and they have a great brand. So I think it just depends on what you're looking for. If you're trying to keep something in terms of your family, pass it down, make sure you retain control, being private. If you want to grow as big as possible at all costs, being public. It also depends on the nature of the business too, right? Like Facebook, probably wouldn't have made sense for them to be a private company. Something like In-N-Out, though, you're selling burgers, yeah, you can have a private company.
Do you have a defined marketing department like within your company?
Oh, our marketing department is me and my co-founder. Our production team, me and my co-founder. Operations, me and him. Sales, me, everything is us. We've been very fortunate to have a lot of people that have consulted with us, helped us out. But in terms of actual teams, you wear many different hats. You kind of do it all. Yeah. It'd be great to have a great marketing department one day. That is the goal. That is the goal.